Okay, today I will try to demonstrate how do we use AI, specifically the WindSurf editor, to help me develop this Obsidian Todoist Context Bridge plugin for me. I would mainly use this prompt engineering for developing the feature, so that means that I wouldn't do much coding. So let's see how it works. I don't know how it would go actually, but I hope it would give me something I would like to have. So today I want to add this feature about supporting Obsidian Tasks plugin format. So now when we implement features about the task due date and the priority, for example, we would use the Dataview format. So today I would like to add the support for tasks plugin format. Specifically, we would add something about allowing emojis, for example, for due date, priority, recurrence, and other things. For example, cleanup rules. And this is from a user request on GitHub. So today I would like to use WindSurf and see if we can implement the features successfully. So during this process, I would use MacWhisper, another tool for audio transcription. So I would, in another editor tool, I would, on another screen, use this tool to transcribe my audio prompts into text. Then I would pass the prompt to WindSurf and ask it to develop the features for me. So I would, on another screen, use this tool to transcribe my descriptions into text. So, okay, this is basically it. We will use MacWhisper to do the audio transcription of my audio prompts. Then we will use WindSurf to help me develop the features about supporting the tasks, task property format. So let's begin with the due date thing. And I will try to transcribe and describe what I want to achieve about this feature. Okay, so let's begin. So you have helped me develop this feature which allows us to define due dates for tasks, so that when we try to sync a task from Obsidian to Todoist, you would identify the due date defined in the Dataview format. And then you would preview this identified due date in this task model, and then you would allow the user to modify the due date, and then you can send the due date to Todoist, so that when we create the task, you would identify the due date property. So this is very good, and I see that you've achieved this in several different code files to help me achieve this. So now I would like you to do something similar, but for tasks format, because Dataview is one plugin for managing tasks. The tasks plugin is another tool for managing tasks in Obsidian. So the way tasks defines a due date is by using an emoji symbol and then followed by a date. So I will give you this specific example of a task with an emoji symbol. So I would like you to revisit how you implemented this due date feature across all the related code files. And then I would like you to add this support for due date implementation by using the tasks due date format. So please help me implement this feature. Also, please make sure that when you implement this feature, you only implement this feature for me. You don't delete any existing features or code. You don't break any existing features. You only add this support for tasks due date format. You try to use existing code as much as possible so that we wouldn't introduce any redundancy. And when you create the code for me, you put those into corresponding code files. So yeah, please help me do that. So yeah, you see I've said a lot of prompts. I hope the audio transcription will give me an accurate transcription so that I can pass them to WindSurf and let it add this feature for me. Okay, the transcription is done. And let's see, I will copy and paste this transcription from my Obsidian to WindSurf and see if it's accurate enough. So let's have a look. You have helped me develop the feature. So I briefly looked through this. It looks fine to me. So now I would give it the example, the tasks format, how would the due date look like, so that it would know exactly what I want to achieve. This is what I copied from tasks plugin website, but let's delete unrelated things. We only care about due date for now. So yes, let's see how it goes. You see, it tries to analyze my prompts and it tries to search for the entire code base to look for related code files. Then it tries to understand the current implementation, for example, due date format and things like this. And then it tries to define patterns, modify code, and things like this. So it tries to implement this feature for me, it seems. But you see here, it added 41 lines of code, but deleted 20. So let's review what's changed and see if it works for me. Okay, so let's revisit what's being changed. So it says it added support for due date format in this format, and it placed this due date format check before the data view format, and it does this validation thing. Due date simple emoji validation warning. It seems like everything else has been added just like before what we had for data view format. So it also gives us an example, and it says that it should implement this tasks format properly. So let's see what it changed. In WindSurf, you see there's this diff view. It's very nice. So before accepting the code change, we can see what it modified, the code. So, for example, here we see that it added some comment here, but it deleted something related to data view, but it added this data view format here. This is a bit strange if we look at the comment, because it says if no tasks plugin due date format found, then we try the data view format. But the intention was that we should support both the tasks format and the data view format. In case that some users might use the data view format, some users might use the tasks format. So we should support both. So here, it seems that it didn't understand our intention clearly, but of course that's also completely understandable because we didn't say it clearly. So we should make sure that it does what we want to achieve. So we will continue with this prompting thing and to clarify our purpose. Okay, so here's I will prepare some code snippets first. For example, here I need to copy this so that I can pass it to the prompt, because I always try to see what it deleted and then question if the deletion is necessary or not, so that we can develop this plugin using AI in a critical way. So yes, and one more thing here. So this part is also deleted. Okay, so from this, nothing else has been deleted. Actually, during this development, I found another thing that can be improved, because, for example, here, there's this regex thing. Some of this I defined in a separate module, in a separate function, but here it's still existing. So it should be defined in a separate module. So I also need to improve this point later on, but this is not the top priority now, because we want to fix the tasks due date support first, and then we try to figure out this later on. This is also what the PTKM method wants to achieve. We couldn't fix everything at the same time. We have to prioritize things. Also, we don't want to break the current flow of our work. So yes, let's continue. But let me take some notes about this, a brief note, so that I know what I should work on in the future. So regex. Okay, now I will give it some new prompt, but let me first accept all the changes because I revisited what has been changed, and since I also set it up the project in GitHub, so I would always revert to the previous versions if this doesn't work for us, so we don't need to worry too much about this for now. So yeah. Thank you for developing this feature for me. I see that you've modified several places in the code file so that we can sync tasks that has the tasks plugin due date format, which looks very good, and thanks a lot for that. But I identified a few things that I would like to fine-tune. For example, I see this line comment is you said that if no tasks plugin due date found, try Dataview format. From this, it feels like you first check the tasks plugin due date. If it doesn't exist, then you check the due date Dataview format. Does this mean that if the user uses tasks due date format or the user uses Dataview due date format, you can only support one of these? What about some users would like to use the tasks due date format? Some users would like to use the Dataview due date format. Would this implementation support both cases? Because we want to achieve this. So please double check if your implementation would support this or not. Otherwise, please improve the implementation for me. So now it tries to do this audio transcription about the prompt I had. I forgot to mention that I would also give it some deleted code for reference. So I would now use another prompt. I combine this prompt with the prompt above. So for example, I saw that you also deleted the following code about Dataview implementation. Of course, it might be that you moved it to somewhere else. So please double check. The deletion of the code is necessary and it wouldn't break any existing features, and you make sure the points I mentioned above would be addressed properly. Now I added some additional prompt. So as you can see, I always try to repeat what I observed from the coding changes, and I encourage it, I compliment it, so that it knows that it did a quite good job. And then we try to say it out what might be wrong, what we want to do in a different way, in a better way, so that it would know that what should be done in the next step. So yeah, this is basically what we do about this prompting thing. So now I would give the prompt and also the code, everything to it. So I copy paste. You see it's a quite long prompt, but this is also clear for the AI to understand what we observe, what we want to do more. And also we question this code deletion thing so that it would rethink what it did and tries to satisfy our requirements. So yeah, we have to do this in an iterative way. We have to do this step by step. We have to make things clearer step by step so that it would satisfy our requirements in a better way. We as human developers, we couldn't implement everything in the first place in a perfect way either. So we shouldn't ask too much to AI either. So we should be patient. So okay, let's see what it did. So it says, I raised a good point about supporting both formats simultaneously, and it's not deleted about the Dataview related code. So this is good. And we should check both formats independently. This is good. Then it tries to modify the code. If I always look at the code file change. Now it says it added 25 lines, it deleted 20 lines. So this is good in general, because it means that to me, it added some code to implement my feature, and it didn't delete much code, because sometimes the deletion is more about, for example, moving a few lines of code before or after certain places. So the deletion doesn't necessarily mean that this code is deleted. It might be meaning that it's moved somewhere. So if the added lines is larger than the deleted lines, it might be a good sign, but it's not always like that. But at least here I have a good feeling. Let's see what it did. Independent format support. This is good. So previously it indeed didn't do it in a perfect way because it uses the other method as fallback, as it says here. So now it checks both formats in every task. Format priority if both formats are present in the same task. So now it says that it would check both formats, and it feels that sometimes both formats can exist, and by default it uses the tasks plugin format as a priority, but sometimes it might not be like this. So we can at least let the user decide what to prioritize. For example, we can add a setting option in the settings tab that allows the user to select which should be prioritized. So yeah, this is something we can do in the next step, but not necessarily immediately. But I will take a note about this, and I'll think about how to address this later on. And then point 3, code organization. Date format checks preserved as it was, just reorganized. It's good. Default date, today's date is only set if no due date is found in either format, and this is also good. Use both formats in different tasks. I have a bit concerned about this, or I'm not very clear about this, because before implementing this feature, I didn't expect this to happen, to be honest. I was thinking that we only support, when we define due date in a task, we only use either data view format or tasks format, but now it implements both formats, and it would use the tasks format as a priority. So this is something I need to figure out either immediately or in a later stage. So I will also copy and paste this note. So now let's see what's changed. So it only changed this file, these lines of code. It feels like it added back some code about data view. It deleted before, but it's not clear to see now because things changed more. But let's just accept the changes. I will do some check in the GitHub Desktop, because it also allows me to see what the WindSurf has changed. And this is actually another layer of redundancy, because I can always review what's changed before committing the changes to GitHub. This is good. And yeah, you couldn't see what I see in GitHub Desktop, but it basically allows me to check what's changed. Actually, I found something interesting, or something not as expected, because this data view part, the regx is a bit different, although a small difference, but I still would like to ask why it changed the regx. So I would copy paste this regx thing and make sure it didn't break anything. I would give it both old and new implementation, so that it would do a comparison for me. This is the data view regx. Data view to match. So this if-else part, I'm seeing the GitHub code. So it seems like this if-else part about data view is correct, because it didn't change anything. Sorry about the silence for a long time because I was checking the code manually. And when doing this, I couldn't talk. I need to work in a silent environment. So yeah, I will question about the code change. Here's the prompt. Thank you for implementing this change for me. It looks nice for me, but I observed a small thing. So for this regx for data view implementation, I observed a small difference. So in the old and the new implementation, they are slightly different. So can you explain the difference for me and why you changed this? Is this change necessary? Please double check. And please make sure that you wouldn't affect any existing features about the data view due date. And here's the prompt. You see that I didn't do manual changes about the prompt because the accuracy of the transcription is actually quite good. I used this MacWhisper local model for transcription, and I used ChatGPT to refine this transcribed text. So sometimes it would correct some mistakes. So that's why I didn't do any changes. Of course, sometimes I have to do it, but now it's quite accurate. And okay, let's see the response. Good catch. You noticed the subtle but important difference. So you see, what we saw was correct. So now it restored this old implementation about the data view date, and I'll double check again in GitHub Desktop and see if it reverted the old implementation for me. So okay, I'll do this comparison. It looks okay. It looks like it reverted to the old date. So this is good. Data view do match. Okay, now it looks good. I mean, at least I didn't see anything unexpected. So let's try to compile the plugin and see if it can sync the task for us by using the tasks plugin due date format. And I used this npm run dv command so that every time I make some changes in the code files, it would automatically compile the code for me so that I can test the plugin in another vault. And also we can see that WindSurf, it indicates that this file is modified with this M symbol and also this yellow text. Also, it doesn't show any red text, and there's no number indicating the number of errors. And this is also good. It means that at least WindSurf doesn't find any errors in coding. Of course, this is a good sign, but it doesn't always mean that there are no errors in the code. Sometimes there are no errors in the code itself, but it doesn't give us what's expected about the compiled plugin. But for now, it looks good. So I'll test this implementation in another vault. I will have to copy and paste this newly built plugin, this main.js file, to my test vault. I check the date for the modification. It's a few minutes ago. This is good. It means that we are using the latest code file. I mean the latest plugin file, so that we are making sure we didn't use the old plugin file. So I'm testing here. I will try to sync selected task to Todoist. Okay, it's good. In this pop-up window, unfortunately you couldn't see it, but in the task title part, it says has a due date. Here, it includes the due date in the task title also, of course, without this emoji symbol, because the default cleanup rule takes care of that for us, but still this due date shouldn't be included in the task title. So in the next step, we should address this. But at least we see this pop-up window previewed with some date. But in this due date part, it previews the today's date as the due date. So it means that it didn't identify correctly the data view due date, because the data view due date is another due date. So it means that the check didn't work, unfortunately. So I would tell it what happened. I will explain. I will explain what's happening here. And I was preparing everything. I wanted to pass to WindSurf as prompt. So you will see what I prepared. And here's the prompt. Okay, thank you for adding this support for tasks due date support. And also thank you for fixing this data view part. But unfortunately, when you preview the due date, you didn't preview the due date from tasks plugin defined due date. You actually previewed today's date as the due date in the pop-up window. Then it feels to me that you didn't identify the due date of tasks format correctly. And then it feels that you didn't find any due date. Then you use today's date as the due date because we set this in settings, and this is as expected. But to me, it feels like you didn't identify the tasks format due date. So can you double check this? Okay, I wanted to pass the prompt directly to WindSurf, but I realized that I need to commit the changes in case. This is because if I make too many changes and I didn't commit any changes to GitHub, then I wouldn't know, I wouldn't compare in GitHub Desktop what's being changed. So it's more difficult to review the changes for each step. This is why I want to commit the changes for now. Of course, I will need to create a new branch for developing this feature in case it wouldn't break my current branch. I will create a branch called tasks due date. And I can commit the changes. Then I pass the prompt to WindSurf. Let's see what it says. Okay, now I always try to see first how many lines of code are added and how many are deleted. So this is good. Added more makes me happy. And then let's see what it says here before checking the code changes. So it says it will check why the due date from tasks is not identified. So it identified something about the regex pattern for tasks. It tries to simplify the regex pattern. To be honest, I don't understand what this is, but I hope it works because we can always test and see if it works. We don't have to understand everything, and this is what AI can help me, but we as human developers or users, we can always test. This is what we can do. This is what we are good at. We can question the changes and see if it works for us or not, if it's as expected or not. And this is the first step about regex, and this is about logging. I don't know what this is about either, but let's see the issues. It tries to match an optional time portion. This is not needed, and maybe the reason for adding this part could be that for data view format, I added this moment.js format for date, so it means that we can actually add time as due date. We can support date and time in the due date part, but for tasks, we don't need this, and actually maybe tasks the plugin doesn't support time info. So this also means that the AI is quite smart. It tries to mimic what we had before in Dataview. So this is not AI's fault. Capture group is wrong. Okay, this is mainly about the regex thing. So, okay, it also says ignore the time step and other parts of the task. This is also good because I wanted to fix this about this cleanup rule in the next step. But still, I would take a note about this and see if it really fixed this. And then let's have a look at the code. I always look at the explanations first. If I find something unreasonable, I will question and ask follow-up questions. This is also what I said before in an article about using AIs responsibly and critically. So it happens a lot that if I see something strange in the output, in the explanation here, then the code most likely wouldn't work. So, but here, at least I didn't see anything strange. But let's have a look at the last part, because sometimes it would also suggest the next steps. So this is also good for our following developing tasks. And let's see. Okay, added some debug logs in the console, so it will tell us what's failing about these tasks due date. But it could be that we don't need this logging in the console when we officially release this feature. But let's first test this. So as you can see, console.debug. We might need to delete this or comment out this when we realize that this feature is correctly working. And okay, so the first thing, it modified this REGX. Second thing, it added this debug, and also we see that it didn't tell us this is from the Todoist Context Bridge plugin, so it's not clear for the user to see. But as a developer, we know that this is for us. And also this raw date. Uses group 2, just the date. Previously it's using group 1. Okay, let's accept the changes. I will double check in GitHub, because like I said in a previous article about using AI responsibly and quickly, we always try to understand what's being changed. Of course, we might not understand the meaning of the changes, but at least what we can do is to try to understand which part of the code has been changed. That's the least we can do, so that we can cooperate in a better way with the AI. And okay, it compiled automatically for us, so we will update this compiled main.js file in a test vault, and then I will try to sync the task again. Okay, I restarted the vault so that it would load the updated main.js file. Oh, this is really good. I identified a few things. So first, in the task title, we don't have this time step anymore, which is good. But another thing is that this could be related to the fact that it did this cleanup in this due date extraction part. But what we wanted to do is that we want to define this cleanup rules in settings. I mean, we allow the users to do this, and now it does it here. But again, it's a refining step in the future. So still, we will take a note about this. Another thing I observed is that it successfully identified the due date and previewed the due date in the due date field in the pop-up window, but it's a past date because the date is in 2023. And then I saw this warning message, the due date is in the past. And this is related to another feature because it tries to detect if the due date is in the past or in the future. I mean, in the past, we wouldn't use a past date as a due date, right? And this is good also because it means that our other implementation about identifying past date is correct. But now I try to modify the date to make it a future date. So it's working as expected. Okay, now we don't have this warning message about past date as due date, and now I try to create task, and okay, I see that the task is now successfully synced to Todoist, just like before, just like what we can do for Dataview format. I also try to click the link in description, and now it takes me to the Obsidian task, which is very good. It means that our implementation about this due date is successful, which is really good. And of course, there's some fine-tuning work to do because I took some notes. For example, this cleanup rule can be refined, and also the settings preference, because now it uses a tasks format due date as the default. If the user uses this, regx fine-tuning, this is about refactoring thing. And the priority support, recurrence support, cleanup rule. Okay, I will do this cleanup rule in a later stage. But let me first see what we can do in the next step. Cleanup rule, maybe not. I will try to implement this cleanup rule together in another part about cleanup. And fine-tuning. Priority, recurrence. Okay, actually, the major part about this due date support for tasks plugin is already done, which is very good, much smoother than I expected. And for this priority support, it might be a bit complicated because we have several different things. Actually, let me add some more about this due date thing, because now we didn't add anything in settings about this tasks due date support, so the users might not know about this feature. So the least we can do is that we can add a toggle on in settings so that the users can enable this, because now we use Dataview due date format as default, and together with this we can fix that feature about letting the users set the preferences about data due date formats. I mean, which one to use if there are two. And yes, let's add another support for that, prompt for that. I mean, due date refining. Again, I will first commit this change because it's already working for me. If you want to see the changes about the code in each step, you can see the GitHub commit history, and then you will see what I see before and after committing the code. So I will refine the due date support for tasks plugin. So yes. And thank you for adding this support about tasks plugin due date format. But I want to refine something. The first thing is that now it feels like, I mean, from your previous messages at least, you said that there's this format priority. If both formats are present in the same task, then the tasks plugin format takes the priority. And you did this by default. But I'm not sure if it's the best way of doing this. Maybe at least we can allow the users to select this. For example, what I was thinking about is that we can add two options in settings that are related to this. The first option is that we add a toggle on option that allows the users to enable the tasks format due date. And there's already a section about the due date in settings tab. You can add this toggle on option there. So it's something like this. If the user enables this option in settings, then the plugin would identify tasks due date format. So this is a very clear option. So you should add this code in the settings tab in settings, and also when you try to identify the tasks due date in this text passing code, you should consider this option. Another thing I want you to add in the settings tab is that now by default, you use the tasks plugin due date format as the priority if both formats are present in the same task. So I would like you to add another option in settings that allows the user to select which one, I mean, data view or tasks date format, which of them takes the priority if both due dates are present. So yeah, could you add these two options for me? Again, you only add this feature for me. You don't break any existing features or code. And thank you for implementing this for me. So as you can see, I tried to use what I observed in the previous code changes as a background, as a context. Then I describe what I observed and what I wanted to achieve. And then I use this as a prompt for the plugin. So, I mean, for the prompt, as the prompt. So then AI would understand us better, and then it would give us better results, I hope. But yeah, I didn't. I need to add something else about the prompt. I want to add the previous messages it gives me as part of the prompt, so it's even clearer, because I previously wanted to use audio notes to describe what it gave me as a message, but now I want to give the exact message. So here is what you explained to me before about this tasks plugin format takes priority when both due dates formats are present in a task. So yes, please help me implement these requests. Okay, AI is quite fast. It already finished the transcription. Now I will copy paste and everything as the prompt. I didn't even check the transcribed text, to be honest, because it's quite short, and I briefly looked at the prompt and it looks accurate. Well, you see, it's quite long prompt. If I manually input everything, it would be very time consuming, but if I use audio-to-text transcription, it's very, very efficient. I like it. This is why I like using audio-to-text and also WindSurf combined to develop the features for me. You see, it tries to edit a few files now. Before, it only modified one file. Okay, now I see that already in GitHub Desktop that it edited quite a few files. Again, let's have a look at the responses first. We'll help you add those two settings. So it feels like it understood what I said. It's good. Settings interface. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, enable tasks plugin due date. It's booting tasks data view. This is also good as expected. It added 7 lines, so there should be something else. Okay, it's here. So by default, it's disabled. Preferred due date format by default is data view. And some settings UI in the settings tab. Quite many lines of code. And okay, let's accept everything first, because it's easier to see and edit, because sometimes we need to fine-tune something. So I would like to fine-tune directly here. Task due date section. Task due date, this is section title. It added these two options at the beginning. I will check the current settings tab and see how it looks like, because I want to adjust the order. So let's see how it's like. Okay, I realize the plugin in my test bot is not the latest version, so I have to update to the latest version first, so that I have the consistent UI. So in my test bot, I wasn't using the latest version. Okay, Todoist Context Bridge. So now in the task due date section, the first one is data view due date key. Second one, set today as default due date. Third one, today as due date for non-task case. Last one, warn about past dates. Then it seems reasonable to put the new options at the beginning, because we first need to define the default due date format, and then we set the details about due date. So, but I don't understand why it adds a new section title for me. I don't think it's needed, because this is already here. So I will first comment out this at least, so that I can always revert back. If it's working as expected, then I will delete this part, because we don't need this comment. And the section name, it should be sentence case instead of a title case. And also it mentions tasks plugin, so I was thinking we should add some documentation about this, either in settings tab or in the plugin documentation website. So I will take note about this. It can also help us add this documentation in both the settings tab and the documentation website. So I will show you how to do this later on. But let's first fine-tune this. The section title, the name of this, for example, we might need to fine-tune later on, but let's name it like this for now. And this one, preferred due date format. Again, choose which format takes priority when both tasks in a task. So it's a drop down, so we can select the preferred one. So now we have a enable task. And then this one. I might need to tune the order of these options, but I will do that. I will decide that when checking the settings tab. So it changed the naming here. This might be a bit confusing, to be honest, because in the settings tab we have this section about tasks due date. Then we we should make things clearer. So for example, I think it changed the name here. Previously we named it to be Dataview or something, but now we don't have this Dataview thing, so it would be confusing for the users and also for me. So I will revert it back. So yes, I will copy and paste what we had before from GitHub Desktop. And okay, then this is for now about this code file. About another code file. So it says it added 36, deleted 36 lines of code. It's quite many, but I hope it didn't modify too many lines of code. It mainly moved the sequence. Otherwise, I'm a bit concerned about this. But I will have a look at the GitHub Desktop. I would always be cautious about what's deleted. Okay, I observed a few things that are deleted. The first thing is that this console.debug, they are deleted. Okay, that's fine, because we wanted to delete it manually anyway, so that's fine. And it deleted this tasks plugin to match regex. I don't know why. It moved it a bit below, but I need to make sure it didn't change any regex. I manually checked this. It looks the same, but I would still copy and paste the old match just to make sure it didn't change anything. So first delete this and paste the old one here, so that this is a cautious step, but I think it's necessary. Also, it changed this regex line about data view due date. Okay, it didn't change, it just added a comma there. Raw if task plugin due date. Data view date. Okay, I observed that it deleted a few lines of code, and I don't want to manually check it because it did so many changes. So I would ask it to explain the deletion, and I would ask it to make sure it didn't break any features. Thank you for developing this feature for me, but I observed that you deleted many lines of code. I don't know if it's the desired change or not, so please take a step back and think this thoroughly. So first, I would like you to explain why you deleted this code. Secondly, I would like you to confirm if the deletion is necessary or not, if it breaks any existing features or not, if you added this deleted code somewhere else or not. So please double check this and make sure you don't break any existing features. Okay, I added some prompt, but I haven't finished checking the responses yet. I just realized. Okay, something unexpected happened. This audio transcription, it tried to insert the transcribed text, but since our cursor moved somewhere else, it didn't know where to insert. So I need to find out what's transcribed. Luckily, I can find it out in the MacWhisper transcription history. But let's look back about the responses. I've made the following changes: added new settings in settings. This is good. These two settings we've already seen that. Toggle for enabling tasks plugin due date support. Drop down existing due date settings. It lied because we saw that it added a new section. It's not an existing section, but yeah, it's fine. It's a small thing. We already caught that. Only check for if enabled in settings. Store both dates separately. Preferred fallback to if no date is found. It's good. So we don't see any additional steps about this response. So we ask it to confirm the code deletion. Okay, it tries to, okay, it's a long response, but let's look at this. Let me explain the code changes and verify that everything is working correctly. It's not deleted, it's replaced with a more structured approach. It's good. It also does this comparison for me, which is good. I don't want to look at it, to be honest. I just test it. But reorganized. Dedicated section. Still present, okay. You see, we see this text cleanup thing. It's in this text parsing thing part. We wanted to define the cleanup rules about tasks in a separate place. So I will take note about this again. More organized structure, clearer separation of concerns, more flexible. However, to be extra careful, we make one improvement. Text cleanup appears. Okay, I will copy paste this part about cleanup, so I would use them as context when I improve the text cleanup related code in a central place. Preserved. And let's accept this and do another test and see if everything is as expected. I will check again in GitHub. Okay, let's test this plugin. It updated this man.js file for me automatically a few minutes ago. So let's see. I will test this again in another vault. First, I will look at the settings tab and see how it looks like there. So, okay, in the due date part, it's quite a few things. Enable tasks plugin due date default is false. It's good, it's as expected. Preferred due date format. Dataview tasks plugin do by default is Dataview. I was wondering if we select default due date as format as Dataview and we use tasks plugin due date in the text, what might happen? So it should be something like it uses today's date as default date because it's not valid, right? We don't enable. Okay, I'm a bit confused, but okay, let's do a few tests. First, okay, I'll need to take some notes. I wanted to say that if we select the preferred due date format to be tasks, do we need to show this Dataview due date key in settings tab? Maybe not, but it's a future thing, so it's a fine-tuning thing, but still I will add a note about this. And enable tasks plugin. This one should be fine-tuned. I realize it should be capital case because the tasks. And the data view, it should be V like this. It's a small fine-tuning work. Tasks plugin. So like I said, I will test a few things. First, I disable tasks plugin due date, this option. Then I select default due date format to be data view, and these two options are by default. So now the expected result would be like, even though we have a due date defined in tasks format, it shouldn't be identified, right? Because we didn't enable tasks plugin due date. So let's see if it's like that. Okay, it's working as expected because now it's showing today's date as the due date. But one thing I observed is that in the task title, the due date wasn't cleaned up. So it means that the cleanup rule about this tasks date is not working again. I don't know why, but I will take a note about this. This is something that can happen when we use AI tools, because sometimes it would affect existing features, but we can always ask it to correct this. So let's test another combination of options. Now we enable this tasks plugin due date and see what happens. Still, we select the default, the preferred due date format to be data view. And interesting. Now it removes the date from the task title. And we are still using default format to be data view. But now I understand. Now it's working something like this. So since we enabled that option about tasks plugin due date, so it identifies the tasks due date, and that option, the preferred option, is for the case where we have two due date formats available. So yeah, now it's working as expected. Then this cleanup rule part I also understand because we didn't enable this tasks plugin option. So that means that everything related to tasks plugin wasn't working, including this cleanup rule in task title. So that's why we also need to define this, allow the users to define this cleanup rule in this cleanup section. So this due date is working. Now I want to test a few other things. So I want to add a due date defined by data view, but not tasks, and see if it's working, because we added these two options. So that means that there can be a few different combinations of things that we can test. So we need to make sure the implementation is correct. I will define another task with data view due date. Let's set the due date to be New Year. And let me see the options. So still we enable tasks plugin due date. Still we select preferred due date format to be data view. Then we try to sync this task. Okay, it's identifying the task title. Also, the due date is identified correctly using the data view due date key. It's working great. Now let me select the default preferred due date format to be tasks plugin. Just to make sure. I know that it should work, but yes, it's still working. And let's do another test. We define another task that has both the tasks plugin due date and data view due date. A task with both data view and the tasks due date. Do we use the due dates the same as the previous task? We use the same due date as before regarding tasks. Then we first disable this tasks plugin due date, and the preferred due date format is still tasks plugin. This doesn't make sense, maybe. It's a logic thing, but it's a detailed thing, but let's ignore this for now. So now it identified the due date defined by Dataview. It's as expected because we disabled this tasks plugin option. If we enable it, then how it works. If we enable it and we selected the tasks due date format as the preferred one, then it's working. Let's test if we selected a view due date as the preferred one and see how it works. Okay, it's also working, which is great. And I want to do a fine tuning actually, because now we have two options. One option for enabling tasks plugin due date, another one for selecting the preferred due date format. So this logic, these two options should be refined, because if we disable the tasks plugin due date, then the preferred one shouldn't be selected as the tasks plugin. So there should be some validation thing. I don't want to do too complicated things. I just want to add a simple validation, just to make sure it's not too confusing for the users. But let me first commit the changes because it's working. Support tasks, commit the changes. I want to, yes, logic. Thank you for developing this feature for me. Now it's working as expected, basically. But there's another thing that I want you to fine tune for me. So now we have two options in the settings, one for enabling this tasks plugin due date support, another one for selecting the preferred due date when there are two due date formats. But I think there's something that can be refined, because, for example, now if we enable the tasks plugin due date support, then we can select the default due date format in another option, which is as expected. But if we disable this tasks plugin format support, we can still select the tasks plugin support as the preferred due date, which is a bit weird, right? If we don't enable the tasks plugin due date format, why can we still select the tasks plugin format as the default due date format, right? Should we add some validation or something like that to allow to add a warning message or something to the users so that we can check this? Even better, we can, for example, fine-tune this drop-down thing so that we only allow the users to select the drop-down when the users enable this tasks plugin option. I mean, in the settings tab, we already have something like that. For example, if I remember correctly, in this task tagging section, we already have this enable auto tagging. For example, if the users enable this option, then the users can also see and set the auto tag name. So can you improve this point for me by using the methods there? For example, if we enable this tasks plugin due date format, then the user can see this drop-down for selecting the preferred due date format. If the user doesn't enable this option, then the user wouldn't see this drop-down for selecting the preferred due date format. And the preferred due date format is always set to Dataview in this case, because the user didn't enable the tasks plugin due date format, right? Also, the auto take name there's a validation thing. So yeah, can you do that for me? Can you implement this feature by borrowing the code and the implementation about this auto tagging and auto tag name there? I feel that it might be a good idea. Or can you suggest better ideas if you don't think it's a good idea? So actually, when I tried to ask it to implement this feature for me, I didn't realize there are existing implementations that can help us with this. So when I checked the settings tab, I realized that, okay, we can actually borrow existing features for this purpose. That's really good. And this might also make things easier for the WindSurf, because it will know better how to implement the feature, and it will know better what we wanted. It will know better how to satisfy our needs. So yes, this is what I found out. And this prompt is actually very long, but I hope it can understand and help us implement this feature. Although it's a tiny thing, but it helps make things clearer. You see, it's quite a long prompt. And let's see if it can understand what we said and can help us address this request. It's really nice to see this long response from AI and to see this entire process. First, it tries to search for related code and understand our request, and then make the changes to satisfy our requests. And we see that it mostly changed this settings tab code file, which is also good. And this means that this is as expected, because we didn't need to change other code files. So okay, let's look at the response. So it first checks this auto tagging implementation, and it found out how it implements, and then it tries to estimate this due date according to that implementation. So it tries to make the following improvements to the settings tab. Container organization, due date container for due date settings. Why? I already have that. Maybe it's container, not a section. Okay, I might have misunderstood that, but I need to double check the settings tab later on. Dynamic UI, this is good. So when it's disabled, then preferred dropdown is hidden. The preferred date is automatically set to data view. This is as expected. Initial visibility is based on current setting value. Consistent naming of the data view. And yeah, this is good. We wanted to, because we changed this before, because before it uses this one, data view, and we manually updated it to data view, and now it knows that what we wanted is this one, so it's good. It learned what we wanted. Once disabled, good. This implementation prevents confusion by hiding irrelevant options. More intuitive. Okay, it looks like it's trying to implement what we wanted. Still, let's see what it changed. So it added 20 lines, deleted 5 lines. Looks good. So this is a container it mentioned. Data view preferred option. This we don't need to see, and this one is within this container. Preferred due date format. Data view, due date. This is the sentence case it mentioned there. And this is the so-called container. Due date container. Do we need to have a container for data view due date? I'm not sure I wanted that. So, but I don't think I needed that. So I will commit the code first, and then have a look at what's there in the settings tab. But I have a doubt about that. So this is also how we should use AI. We should always question the changes it made. Then we ask it to confirm the changes and update things if necessary. So yeah, I'm loading the plugin again. Todoist. Now I try to do a few tests. I enable the tasks plugin. If I disable it, I don't see that option for selecting the preferred due date format. This is good. If I enable it, then I see the selection. But this is only visual changes. I also need to test if the feature works or not. So if I disable it, then the default, if I disable it, I test the task with both data view and tasks due dates, then it should only select the data view due date. But let me do something like that. I first select preferred due date format to be tasks plugin. Then I disable that. and then see if it's working or not. Okay, it's using the data view due date, then it's working, because even though I first select the tasks plugin due date as the preferred due date, but if I disable that tasks plugin support, then it's not working, then it's good. And then if I enable this plugin support, then I can select this preferred due date format. And if I select tasks plugin, let's test it. Tasks plugin, okay, it's task plugin due date. If I select the data view due date, it's also using data view due date. This is very good. So yes, so now I can say that it's working as expected, this dynamic drop-down thing. So I will commit this change, improve due date selection, improve dynamic due date selection. Okay, this is very good. And next I will do something about this cleanup rule. But I will first need to take a break because I'm working continuously for like 2 hours, more than 2 hours. I'm a bit tired, so yes, I will. Okay, after a 10-minute break, I'm back. Just like what I mentioned in another article about deep work fatigue. Having a short break is needed because I recovered a bit. I had some water, listened to some music and podcast. It's very good. So now I can continue working. Okay, previously I said that we can, what I said, I forgot. But I will have a look at my notes. Documentation, clean up, data view due date showing in the settings tab. Collapse, okay, that collapse thing, I already did it. Yeah, I have quite a few notes when developing this due date thing, so I tried to revisit what I wrote there. So now I will do this cleanup thing because I took quite a few notes during the developing process and also before developing this, because I checked the tasks plugin website and see what they used in the emoji. So I think everything can be cleaned up because the user might have many things in the tasks. Due date, I will clean a new section in my prompts process. So tasks due date cleanup. This is my section name. Okay, let's continue with the prompts. It's a bit messy, to be honest, but I will input everything to AI and try to let it understand what I want to achieve. I hope it can work. I'm a bit lazy maybe, but this is what AI can help us with, right? But still, even though I pass a lot of things to AI as reference, as context, still I would use audio notes to explain what I use as prompt, and I hope this can help it understand this better. So yes, let's begin with the prompt. So thank you for developing these tasks due date support for me. Now it's working perfectly. It's very good. But there are a few things that I want you to refine for me. Because, for example, we already have a cleanup section in settings tab. There we can define different rules for cleaning up text when we want to sync a task to Todoist. For example, in the settings tab, there's a section called text cleanup. For example, for data view related things, we can define data view cleanup patterns. There we can add data view keys. For example, do p. Then when you identify task text from the current line of text, you would remove those data view related things from the task text. And this is very good. So I want you to implement something like that for tasks-related implementation. So now we can sync a task with a due date that is defined in tasks format. There we use an emoji to denote that it is a due date. And in tasks format, it's usually, at least for date-related stuff, it's usually an emoji followed by something. And also, there are something else. For example, let's focus on due date for now to simplify things. And there are a few other things that we can try to implement later on. So now what I want to achieve is that in this cleanup section, we can add an option where we, in the input box, okay, now you did something. Okay, this transcription thing, there's something messed up there. It automatically stopped the transcription, even though I didn't complete the transcription yet. So I have to continue with the prompt transcription thing. And yeah. Let me see. This time the transcribed text wasn't very good. The quality wasn't very good. And also it stopped somewhere about the prompt. So I will do this. I will first continue with what I wanted to include in the prompt. Then I will manually tune the text in the prompt. So yeah, let's continue with the prompt. So let's start with the due date thing for now. So I want you to do something exactly like what you did for Dataview cleanup rules. In the settings tab, you can add this tasks cleanup rules below that Dataview cleanup rules in the settings tab. And there we can include several emojis. For example, one emoji for due date, one emoji for creation date, for scheduled date, start date, things like that. I will give you the details later on. So we can add quite different emojis. We can use comma to separate the emojis, just like what you can include for Dataview keys. Then we include those emojis there. If we do that, when you try to sync a task from Obsidian to Todoist, then you would ignore those emojis together with the date followed by the emojis. Then you would give a cleaner task name. So this is basically what I want to achieve. Again, I will give you this emoji and the different format for the dates that is used by the tasks plugin. And when you define these cleanup rules, I mean, when you use regx, for example, you should define this regx in a separate module. I think for Dataview and other things, we've already have something for that in a different file, in a different function. So when you define this regx for tasks-related emoji for dates, you should define it there so that we have a good modular structure. And yeah, and also make sure that when you implement this feature, you only improve this feature. You don't affect any existing features. You don't break any existing features. So please make sure about this point. And also, I'll give you some reference. So when you implement this due date feature thing, you mention something about the timestamp, text cleanup, and things like that. So I will also include this for you as a reference, as a context, so you can see everything, the text you gave me before, and also the dates and emoji related to tasks. So when we create a task, when we sync a task to Todoist, you should do this cleanup in a better way for me. Thank you for implementing this for me. So now I have added some additional prompt. I'm using MacWhisper to do the transcription for me. After this is done, I will need to manually edit the transcribed text this time because it's not very accurate this time. I've noticed this. So due date, for example, due date isn't due date. it's quite clear if I see those mistakes, I mean, even during the transcription. Due date. Okay, it's mainly about due date, priority, and things like that. So I did some manual check and correction. Now I pass it as the prompt. So you see it's very, very long. It's like an article. So I hope it can understand this. So it's quite fast, I would say. So yeah, I hope it will work. It's promising, I feel. So now we see that it tries to edit a few files. These settings, regx patterns. It's creating a new file for me. Why? I already have a file. I didn't want it to create a new file for me. But maybe it's a good idea to create this file. Maybe in the future I can move some existing code about regx to this file. So yeah, for now I don't want to complicate things, so I will keep using what it defined for me. Let me take some notes about this. Okay, now let's check the output from AI. Okay, it feels like it understood that I wanted to define a cleanup system for tasks plugin as the Dataview cleanup system. So it tries to do this step by step. Tries to find out how Dataview cleanup rule looks like, and then add some new settings for the tasks plugin date. So settings, preferred due date from it, tasks date markers, 12 lines. What is this? Actually, I don't understand. Is this for the settings tab to use? I hope so. Then this regx pattern, comma separated emojis, markers followed by date and optional time, settings tab, Dataview cleanup rules. Why it modified Dataview related stuff? That's not as intended. I didn't want it to change anything related to Dataview, to be honest. So I will question and ask about this point, about the change, why the deletion, why the change. And this is settings tab. So it deleted many lines of code. This is not good. I don't like it. And then this text parsing. So this deletion, maybe it's fine. And then this task markers, it feels like it's for tasks. So that's the code file, and then the other explanations. Function, okay, new settings for cleanup configuration. Okay, the setting is for that, but I don't know if the name is good enough or not, but that's a tiny thing. Let's ignore that for now. Settings in text cleanup section, maybe this can be renamed. Use a text input with placeholder showing all available markers. Clear description explaining the purpose. Maintains modular structure. Yeah, let's first accept this. Again, it's fine because we can check in GitHub Desktop what's changed, what's deleted, for example. So in the settings tab, we wanted to question the deletion of the code about Dataview related cleanup rules, because we don't like the deletion of the code unless necessary. So I will have some prompts for that. Thank you for developing this feature for me, but I noticed that you've deleted and changed many lines of code related to Dataview cleanup. Why did you do that? Is it really necessary? Because I don't want to affect any existing features about the Dataview related cleanup rules. So please double check and make sure you don't break any existing features about the Dataview cleanup rules. So yeah, please double check this. Again, I'm using this audio transcription, and also I copy pasted some code here. So yeah, when we notice something like this, questionable code deletion or something we are unclear about, we always question AI and ask it to double check this. If necessary, we would like to revert all the changes. So yes, it says you're right. And it apologized for modifying the cleanup rules. Restored. Good. Added this. Consistency remains intact. Original, okay. I will again accept this. I will check. Okay, now it feels like it restored the Dataview related changes, because you see we don't see any indication about code changes here. But I will double check in GitHub Desktop. regex settings tab, text parsing, settings tab. Okay. frag Dataview cleanup patterns. I want to fine-tune something. So Dataview cleanup patterns, tasks markers being tasks plugin date markers. I will change this. I want to use cleanup patterns because this is because in the next step I want to add something not just related to dates, but also related to other markers. So that's why I wanted to rename this thing. Then I will commit. Yeah, you see several code files are changed. This one is newly added, but we don't see any errors here. So let's test this newly compiled and then see what we can observe in the settings tab. Todoist. Now it actually previews many things about this tasks plugin, but for other parts, it didn't preview that. So it might not be very consistent. So, but this is a small fine-tuning thing, and it might also be reasonable, because if the user doesn't enable tasks plugin cleanup patterns, we should still clean up this. So yeah, we'll keep this for now as the default. I mean, we by default clean up this. So let's test if we add all these markers in a task and see how it goes. So we will create a task that test tasks cleanup patterns. Scheduled date, start date, due date, completion date, cancelled date. Yeah, and let's try to sync this task. Now I added all those patterns in the settings, but now it didn't clean up this. So we need to further debug this. So even though we defined many things and it didn't work, so I will notice down what didn't work and what we defined in the settings tab, so that things would be clearer for AI to understand. And this is also important. When we ask AI to help us, we should help it to understand our purpose and what we observed, so that we can help each other in a better way. Here's the prompt. Thank you for developing this cleanup rule for tasks plugin format, but I tested this and it didn't work, unfortunately. So in the settings tab in this cleanup rule definition for tasks plugin part, you prefilled the following symbols, and this is good. And this is as expected, but I tested to sync the following task. You see that there are several different date-related things about tasks plugin, but when you prefill the identified text, you still include quite a few dates there. So you included 3 days, 1, 2, 3, but in the task text there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 dates there, and that means that you successfully removed a few dates from the identified task text, but you ignored some. So I wonder why you can clean up a few dates, but you didn't do the cleanup for a few others. Could it be that there are already an existing code file or module that internally defines how to do this cleanup thing? For example, in the default cleanup rules, was it because of something like that? But anyway, I would like you to address this for me. Did you not include the user-defined markers to clean up in this regx patterns file or in this text parsing file? Or there might be some disconnection between the user-defined tasks cleanup rules in the settings tab and this actual cleanup rule. Could it be something like that? Anyway, please help me address this issue. So this is a long prompt, again, maybe a bit complicated, because I don't know the reason, to be honest, but I hope AI can help me with this. So prefilled, I will identify text. Original task. I just tried to add some explanations about everything, so that I hope we can better help AI understand what I meant. But again, let me first commit the changes so that I can know what AI changes for me about this feature. One reason is also that since in implementing this feature, it added quite a few different files. So yeah. So I committed the changes. You see the symbols disappeared. Again, this is a long prompt, but I hope you can understand. In the same time, I will have some water. Okay, I'm back. It's still editing. Oh, it deleted so many lines of code. It's not a good. It's not a good thing. This is not what I like, to be honest. For example, here it deleted so many lines of code. Why? I will ask it to confirm this, but we don't need to worry about this. Luckily, we committed many changes before, so yeah. Only one use default part is enabled. Actually, this should be, this cleanup rule should work anyway, whether this option is enabled or not. Regx patterns. I still don't see if it passes user-defined REGX patterns. I'm not sure about this. But even though I have concerns, still I will accept the changes, and then I will check in GitHub Desktop about what's changed and question the deletion of code, for example. Okay, thank you for developing this for me, but I have a few concerns. First, in this REGX patterns, you have this escape markers thing, and then followed by this, you have some REGX. I'm not sure, did you connect this thing with what the user set in the settings tab about what to clean up about this tasks plugin related dates? Please make sure you connected the two. Otherwise, it wouldn't work as intended, right? Please double check about this point. Another thing I observed is that you deleted so many lines of code. Are they really necessary? Please double check and think about this step by step, because I only wanted you to develop this cleanup rule for me for the tasks plugin. I didn't want you to affect any existing features. So please double check the code deletion and make sure you don't break any existing features. So yes, please do this for me. Thank you. So here I wanted to address two things. One thing is about this code deletion. Another thing is about this REGX thing, because I don't know if it's connected to user-defined markers. You see, it's a very long prompt. Most of them are related to confirming code deletion. So it says you are absolutely right. And it knew that they deleted many codes, so it tries to restore or deleted code. I hope it can restore correctly. Otherwise, I would have to manually copy and paste the deleted code to the original location. But if it can do this for me, it would be even better. Then I don't need to manually find out where to put back the deleted code. So we see that it added many lines and deleted some lines. So in total, it added more than deleted. So this might mean that it added back those deleted code before. And then about this text parsing thing. Okay, it's the same file, but the two steps. And then let's see what it says. Restored all original code. Improved these tasks cleanup. Maintained connected settings. Okay. So this might mean that my concern was correct. This also means that we should always question anything that looks weird to us, and this helps both us and also helps AI to better understand what we need. Properly uses the markers defined or date formats. Let's accept this. Again, I will check in GitHub Desktop and see what's deleted and so on. REGX text parsing. Still it's a bit weird. because I mean it tries to restore some changes, but it tried to add back some code, but the place moved. Then it's a bit difficult to see what it changed, deleted, and so on. So I want to manually add back some code so that it's easier to know what's deleted. So for example, I will try to manually check. And here I copy pasted something from GitHub Desktop. So now I delete something, it added afterwards. I mean, usually as default, for example. As you can see, it's here, but I will paste it here to do a comparison and see if it's exactly the same. Okay, it's the same, because we want to double check if AI mistakenly modified anything for us. This is for caution. And also Dataview priority related code. It also deleted some code. And before it's just below this today part. So let's add it back. Oh, something unexpected happened. We tried to add something back, but there's some errors. And let's also try to copy and paste here. Also, it gives us some errors. But one thing we can do is that we do a comparison and see the original code. We have something like this. Then AI tried to restore something like this. At least we can double check if they're the same or not. At least for some key lines, for example, here, we see that they are the same, basically. For the second part, it's the same. Then what we can do is that at least now we know that this deletion is fine because it added back afterwards. Then we revert this. Because now we know that this priority thing is working here. Maybe it changed the definition of certain variables. I mean, maybe previously it's defined before, now it's defined afterwards. But now that at least we know, we confirmed that this data view related thing is fine. So let's ignore that for now. And I'll check a few other things. So for the code deletion, the data view priority related things, it's deleted, but it's added back, so it's fine. And tasks plug into the data view date. It's also fine. Let me do something opposite. So for example, I observed in GitHub Desktop, the following code are deleted. So I try to add them back here and do a comparison with the newly added code. I see that they are the same. Then we know that the added code is the same as before. It's just that they're added in a different place. That's acceptable as long as the code is the same, the implementation is the same. So I will check a few other things that they deleted. This data task related, data view related. And also I saw the following code is deleted. Then okay, thank you for developing this for me and for confirming this for me, but I observed a small thing. So for the following code, you also deleted it. So please make sure the deletion is necessary, and if not, please also add it back as you did before. So actually, I don't know if it's the best option or not, but if it works, let's accept it for now. And also one reason could be that I'm a bit tired. So let's test it. It's always exciting to actually test it. And the compilation of the plugin is done again. So let's try to test it. I'm in another test vault again. Okay, it's really great. Now it cleaned up everything about these Dataview related dates in the task title. And now I try to remove a few symbols in the settings and see. This is to check if it uses the user-defined cleanup patterns or it defines some cleanup patterns internally. But let's see. I observed something weird, so I tried to delete everything, and it seems that I deleted everything, but still it's showing all those symbols, so I'm not sure why. But let me first try to sync the task. Now it added all the dates there, so it could mean that it's using user-defined patterns, but the prefilled part could be improved, fine-tuned a bit for clarity. So fine-tune cleanup rules. Okay, thank you for developing this for me. Now I see that this cleanup rule for tasks plugin is working, and you pre-filled a lot of things in the cleanup field in the settings tab. That's good. But I observed a tiny thing. So when I delete everything, I mean all the emoji symbols from the cleanup rules for the tasks plugin, I still see them visually. Is it because of some kind of a fading effect you're missing? Because even though I deleted everything, all the emojis, I still see them there in the input box. So can you double check this and improve this for clarity? Yeah, this is just a fine-tuning thing, but I think it's still important for the users. Set placeholder. So it is related to something like that, I think. So let's see what's changed. So yeah, something's changed here. Let's accept this and test it again. This time it only changed this settings tab code file. And let me double check the settings tab. No, it's not working. I tried to add an image here. I didn't use the image feature before, but I hope it can understand this. Now I will use the audio prompt here directly in WindSurf. Could it be that I didn't update the main.js or I didn't restart the Obsidian Vault? But let me double check. Let me try to restart Obsidian and check the settings tab again before asking it to improve the settings, because sometimes we can also make mistakes, so we should try to make sure we didn't make any mistakes. Then we ask AI to help us. This is also a good practice, I think. Okay, I double checked and it's still as before, it didn't change. Thank you for improving this for me, but I don't see any change. It's still the same, even though I cleaned up everything in the input box, but still I see them visually there, so it's a bit confusing. But if I sync the task from Obsidian Todoist, I see that the cleanup rule didn't work. So yes, so please fix this and address this issue for me. So also I attach a picture as above, and you can also see that what I mean. So you can see that the cursor position is at the beginning, of the input box. That means that I've cleaned up everything, but visually I see all of them there still. I hope it can work now. I don't do any check about the transcribed text. I just pass everything to it. It says it understands the issue better now. Does it mean that it didn't understand it correctly? I don't know. Settings.ts. So default value to empty removed is also fine. Value handling, no markers are set. When it's empty, then it shows the emojis. That is as expected. When it's cleared, then no visual effect. I hope it would work. Now it added a few lines, deleted a few lines, and I mean it's no big changes, but I will check again in the settings tab. I saw that it did some weird changes about other things, so I will manually add them back. It's a bit annoying sometimes, but we have to accept it maybe. So for example here, it also added some strange things I don't understand. Dataview cleanup keys, don't I have it? I mean here it added Dataview cleanup keys. Did it delete something here? Yes. Why did it delete them? So I don't want this to change, so I will add them back here. So I will delete them here. And I will add the comments back because the changes are completely unnecessary here. Priority 2, 43. This is WindSurf's super completion, I think. So if I hit tab, it would automatically fill everything for me. But it's not the same as before, so I would still manually copy paste things. And none. Previously I used none and for, so I would still use them as before. Settings tab. Auto tag name. Also, auto tag names. Previously I have some prefilled names, so I would like to add them back. But I want to change the name a bit. This is also something. Should I use empty or with some prefilled information? Now it gives me empty, but I want to use some prefilled information. And here, auto completion for consistency. Okay, I did some manual check to prevent some unintended changes about old code. Sometimes this cannot be prevented, but luckily we can do some manual check and we can manually add those back. Now I check the implementation about this prefilled information again. but still it's there. It's really weird. I don't know how to fix this, to be honest, but we have to do some compromised, use some compromised solution. But one thing I realized could be that, for example, for the comma, it's like faded, but for the emoji, maybe they are like that. Even when they are faded, they're still like that. So this is when, it could be like that. So maybe I just remove those prefilled emoji for now if it couldn't. Yeah, let me use prompt for this. Okay, thank you for implementing this for me, but still I see those emojis visually. But I observed something else. So when you use those emojis, you use commas to separate those emojis. I saw that those commas are faded. So that means that the visual effect for those commas is expected, but the emojis are not. So could it be related to this? Even though you use this fading effect for emojis, but it didn't work as intended. Could it be something like this? If this is the case, is there a better way of handling the prefilled information for emojis? If not, can we just remove everything about prefilled information to avoid this visual confusion about prefilled emojis? So can you double check both things and suggest me a solution for this? I don't want to spend too much time on this anymore. Also, please make sure that you only change this for me. You don't modify any existing code, because I observed that you modified some existing code that is not related to this feature. Yeah, sometimes we can encounter things like this. We wanted some effect, but sometimes we might have to use a compromised solution that is good enough, because sometimes the time investment may be not worth it. So this might be the last try. So it seems like it will take the simple approach. It will remove the prefilled information for avoiding visual confusion. So yeah, this is maybe the easiest and the best solution we can have for now, because it's not worth the time and energy for this. Of course, we can add the documentation, things like this, still to help the user better understand this. For example, in the settings tab and also the documentation. Prefilled values. Improve the descriptions. Simplified input. Available markers in the description. I actually wanted to remove everything in the placeholder, not the prefilled information. In the prefilled information, we can still include them. So that's something I didn't describe clearly in the previous prompt. So I will add back this this prefilled information, but in the placeholder part, we can still use empty placeholder. So let me double check. Now we still prefill everything like that. And it said that it modified the description, for example, here. Creation, is that correct? Okay. So we removed the placeholder, but still I would prefill things like that. Now let me double check the settings tab again. And in another vault. Great, now when the cleanup row is empty, I don't see anything about the placeholder. So I do the task sync again. Now it should be okay. If there's nothing in the cleanup rule, then it wouldn't remove the dates related to that in the task text. But if I fill in those emoji symbols, I hope it can work. Then we are done with it. Okay, great, it's working. Then we can commit the change of the code. This is really good. Eventually, we didn't have a perfect solution, but we have a good enough solution considering the time and the energy input. So it's good. Now we finished with this cleanup rule thing. Of course, in the future, there can be some other things to do about tasks plugin, about cleanup rules for task priority and other attributes related to tasks plugin. But for now, I think it's quite good already. So I will leave this demo for now. And I want to briefly summarize what we did today. So we tried to add support for identifying due dates defined by tasks plugin format. Also, in the settings tab, we added two options. One option for enabling tasks plugin due date support, another one for selecting the desired due date if both of them exist, even though it might not happen, but still we have this possibility. Another thing is that we improved this cleanup rule about tasks due date, because tasks plugin support several task properties about date related. For example, creation date, scheduled date, due date, cancel date. Then when we create a Todoist task based on the tasks plugin date format, we should consider all of them. Another small thing we changed is that we improved this visual effect about the prefilled date markers related to this tasks plugin, because even though we remove everything, they're still showing there. So a compromised solution we took was that we don't show any placeholder if it's empty. And this is because we don't want to put too much time and energy on that. So this is a rather long video. I know it's like 3 hours. If I just develop this due date feature without using this video demonstration, I don't think it would take this long time. But using this video and explaining what's happening, what I wanted to achieve, what AI did for us, is also a process for myself to reflect how I can use AI for assisting us to develop this plugin. So this is also a new thing for me. So this is the first time I do this, and I hope you can enjoy this and you can have some takeaways from this. And when I did this video, I also explained some practices, some advices of using AI for assisting us in coding. But I think one thing, if we want to use one sentence to summarize this, it's that we should always use critical thinking skills when using AI to help us develop this plugin, develop software, or for other purposes. You can also check my recent blog about using AI for different purposes. So finally, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like it, please share it with others, subscribe to my channel for future updates. Okay, until next time.